Okay, a very good evening to all of you. I think it's been a formidable year. We'll share so many different things here. So what we'll do, let's see you write a comment in there. I'll take your questions right from the beginning, and then we'll start sharing different things, different topics, different have an outlook of how the year has been so far. We'll look at it from all those angles. Okay, so very good time having all of you around. Very good evening to all of you. So today we want to actually look at different things from different angles. Many of us have looked at it from the area where many people for the whole 2022 has been very tough year, difficult one. Many people had expectations, high expectations. You're expecting things to go for you. But the first most important thing I think you and I would agree, and when I say you and I would agree, is that we all know that, as the Bible says, a living dog is actually better than a dead lion. So once we are alive, once by God's grace we are alive and we are kicking and we have breath, that is the most important thing. Once there is breath, once we are alive, there is hope. So one most important thing that we will do and ensure that we still keep hope alive and then take it from here as it ought to be. So the key things I'm sharing with you today is that you need to actually do your possible best to this whole year I've shared so much on my page, shared so much on the wall. So now let's move straight to the point. Today I want to share with you some very powerful simple nuggets that I think would help all of us to make our lives very formidable. So first and most important thing that I want to share with all of you is that anybody listening to me now is actually never too late for you. Let's start from there. Some of us here listening on this call, listening on this thing for some time now, whether it has to relate to our investments, our financial education, our personal development, our spiritual development, our relationships, our businesses, whatever it relates to it, quite a number of us feel that most of the times we are left behind, we feel that we are late, we feel like people are ahead of us, and quite a number of people have made it, and there are levels that we think that we haven't gotten there. But the first most important thing I want you to know, okay, it's never too late to start your dream. Okay, so the first thing I want to share with you, I don't care what the world is telling you, I don't care what anybody is telling you, I don't actually care whatever anybody has told you, and where you are coming from, what you think you've been through, it has never ever been late for you to start. So first most important thing, if you are not where you want to be academically, please, it's never too late. If you are not where you want to be financially, it's never too late. If you are not where you want to be spiritually, socially, relationship, is never too late. The first most important step that I need you to understand is that most of us have this perception that we need to take that big leap. So we start life and then we take that big leap and then everything changes. I'll be very honest with you, life does not happen overnight. So anybody who has ever sat under any of my sessions, I don't talk about a year by this time, a week by this time. I talk about 5 years from today. I talk about 10 years from today, 20 years from today, 30 years from today. Every good thing takes time. Anything that you get out of haste, you get out of rush, may not last, because the lessons that you go through, the mistakes that you commit, even the failures that some of us have faced, are the ones that have built this kind of resilience that we have. Today, I want to share a very personal life story with all of you. And sometimes most people think that some of us were born with a silver spoon and we were born having everything made up and everything was just there for us. I, for once, I always say that I've experienced two sides of the coin, and it's very good because I've experienced wealth and I've experienced poverty. I've experienced highs and I've experienced lows. And these are one of the reasons why I want to inspire you today and then give you very good steps, nuggets, and actually a certain guide that can help all of us to see how 2023 can be the best year of our lives. So when growing up, I grew up in the family where I'm the last born. I have four siblings. So growing up, my dad, the normal African lifestyle, you leave your country, go to another country. So my dad went to Germany, started life there, started building wealth, started making a lot of money, and then something happened. Things turned south, things went bad, and then life started getting a bit difficult. Because I was the last born, I didn't get to enjoy the full wealth. My elder sister, elder brothers got to enjoy some of the good things here and there. Now, growing up, I had this privilege of getting to one of the good schools here in Ghana before I traveled outside of the country. And in these schools, I met young people coming from homes that are quite very solid. Spiritually, you could see the father, the mother, Christianity, this and that, everything here and there worked so well. In my home, what I had was solidarity. I had a family that, they always have your back. The family is always with you. They go every extra mile for you. But sometimes you know that what mommy is trying to do is just not enough for you. And what your brothers are trying to do is just not enough for you. I just realized that life can be tough. It doesn't matter how good your heart is, how intelligent you are, how super smart you are. Life works with certain codes and principles. And if your father and your mother, your great parents, did not build those foundations for you and they did not conquer those giants for you, unfortunately for you and for somebody like myself, we would have to conquer those giants. Otherwise, our children will come and face the same tune. So, the first most important thing I discovered, and from a very early stage of my life, and this is an example of John the Baptist, and I tell people this. The first thing you need to know in life is that you need to know who you are and who you are not. And that's the biggest mistake we all make. You need to know that is very important. Okay. So know who you are and who you are not. One very important thing that you need to understand. A lot of people, first and foremost, we are told, oh, discover yourself, find yourself identity, do that. So most of the times the equation we have seen all along is that people are told to discover themselves, get to know who they are. But the other side of the coin, if you do not know, will do you a lot of damage. You need to know who you are not. So the first most important thing that helped my life, that created a turnaround in my life, was when I started pursuing, so who am I? Who is Evans? Who is Evans Duah? Who shouldn't I be, or who am I not supposed to be? Now, this kind of questions look so simple, banal, ordinary, and so many times you want to jump it and think, oh, I could ignore it, but I'm being honest with you. So the first part is, let's ask ourselves, who am I? This is very important. Now, the first most important thing I discovered from my childhood is that I just started asking myself, who am I? And then as a young boy, I started searching for the truth everywhere. Started focusing spirituality. So I started looking for faith, trying to go to different churches, different faiths, testing here and there. I wanted to discover the truth. I needed to discover myself because I knew I was not here on this earth for nothing. If God put me here, why did He make me black? Why did He put me in Ghana? Why was I born here? Why was I born to Mr. and Madam so and so? Why this? Why that? I started asking these questions. Now, the first most important thing that you need to, the first part of your identity is to begin to ask yourself this question: why am I on this earth? Now, people ask, okay, if I ask myself, why am I on this earth? Why do I exist? Who do I ask it for? I would always say this thing because anybody who's ever followed me knows that I'm a Christian to the core, okay? And I'm someone who believes in the Lord Jesus Christ and I'm a Christian. I discovered my identity first in the Lord Jesus Christ. I discovered my identity in knowing God. The reason why I need you to pick that thing from there is that there is always a bigger thing than ourselves. When we sleep every day on a daily basis, we are conscious for some time and unconscious for another in every day. So if I sleep for 4 hours, for those 4 hours, I'm totally unconscious. I don't know what is happening around me. That means that there is someone who takes care of you when you are asleep. And any human being can come kill you, do anything to you, but you sleep and you wake up. There is a greater force, a greater presence, and that person is God. That person is the Lord Jesus Christ. You, as a matter of fact, need to go back to God and ask Him, why were you having me in mind, and why did you bring me here? That is the first stage. You need to have that relationship, connect yourself first to your Maker. It is the most important thing, because we did not fall from heaven. We did not fall. They are not some. I don't want to talk about Mark Twain and other people, but I don't want to talk about the Big Bang Theory and all that. But you first need to connect to your Maker. And if you're a Muslim listening to me on this call, you need to connect to your Maker. If you're a Shintoist, whatever you are, Christian, you need to connect to your Maker. That is the first line of knowing who you are. And that truth, you have to pursue it for yourself. You don't need to know God according to what your pastor says, according to what another person is saying. You need to discover God for yourself. Not what I'm telling you. You yourself need to discover God for yourself. And when you do, ask Him why He put you on this earth. Once you are done with that component, now you come back to yourself. The identity you need to have is that you need to accept who you are made. And that's a problem most people have. Many people will fight their entire life trying to be white, trying to be black, trying to be Asian, trying to be Caucasian. Please, as I am on this call with you, I am black. I am very dark. I'm black. I have this kinky hair, and that's who I am. I'm not going to be white. I'm not going to be Caucasian. I'm not going to be Asian. I am black. I am born in Ghana. I am raised in Ghana. I've traveled the world. I've been to many countries in the world. I've been so many places, but God decided to give birth to me, and He chose Ghana as a place where I'll start my life. If you are born in the country you find yourself, why did God put you there? How you can find it is by finding two things you need to know. What are the problems that are around you? Many people think that problems are actually meant to break us. On the contrary, problems are meant to make us to actually do exploits. So the first most important thing I discovered growing very young was that if I can understand the problems around me and not let those problems break me, but help me to break records, then I would be able to go far. So this is what I discovered. I realized that there were scholarships for brilliant but needy students. Okay, life can be tough for my family at that stage. I was born into a good family. Life got tough. No problem. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to look around me. What are the things I can put, in place that can make my life better? So I discovered that if I am an intelligent student, there are scholarships around me that I could tap into. So first and most important thing is that so many people do not know that the disadvantages and the challenges you have around you can actually be the very step to your greatness. And that is shocking. And I'm telling you this because many people think that the fact that we are born into certain places, we're going to limit ourselves. So please, you're going to use every disadvantage around you to your advantage. So I discovered that, hey, what I have to do is to learn hard, read very well, and then become one of the top students. If I push to those limits, I burn the midnight candle. There are these scholarships around, there are these privileges around for poor but brilliant students. I could tap it. Well, quickly, I just began to do that. So my friends and people from KNUST primary JSS in Ghana will tell you. Quickly, I started learning, started doing well, and then I got discovered. So I always give credit. Prof. and Mrs. Jackson discovered me, very intelligent student, and then they said, hey, you know something? You don't have to pay fees anymore. They were quite amazed that with the background I was coming from at that time, I could be part of the top 10 students out of 600 students without any extra classes, Without having access to all those books, I could study and be in the top 10 out of 600 students that time. So, one thing that I discovered was that, hey, I could do this and I have to do that. So, what you have to do is that you need to know who you are. So, anybody listening to me on this call, if you are from a poor home, you don't have to pretend you have a rich car. Please don't pretend. If life is poor for you, you are poor, don't worry. That is who you are at that time. What you are at that time. No problem at all. The second thing is that if you are black, you are black. There are so many things today. If you are female, okay, there are certain job ads that are posted, they will tell you females are encouraged to apply. Your gender can be your advantage. Don't let it be a disadvantage for you. There are certain things that they will do. They will tell you people from African, people from a Muslim, a Christian, or people from this. Your background can be used as an advantage for you. So please, first and foremost, you need to know who you are. And in discovering who you are, we'll take another time to go deep into it. But first and foremost, you need to accept where you are coming from, where you've been born into. Look at the disadvantages you have, look at the problems you have, and how you're going to turn them into privileges and your advantages. The second point is about knowing who you are not. And this is the part we don't talk about. So I give you the example of John the Baptist, okay? John the Baptist knew that he was not the Messiah. Okay, I'm a Christian, so allow me to quote for those who are non-Christians. He knew he was not the Messiah, and he knew he was the one opening the pathway for the Messiah to come in. Now, this is the problem with so many of us. Some of us are not meant to be the main leaders. Some of us are supposed to be support systems. Some of us are not supposed to be the torch bearers. Some of us are supposed to be the ones who light the torch. Some of us are not meant to be in the spotlight. Some of us are supposed to be the support system. So I'm live on this video now. It looks like I'm all alone here, but I have my team around and I have people putting things in place for this to happen. If they don't know their place and I don't know my place, we'll have a problem. And that is the number one problem we have with competition. When I was in my junior high school, okay, in Ghana, there was one thing that I knew. I discovered at that very young age the things that I am not. I knew at that stage that I was no longer a rich kid. I am not. It was something that I am not. I knew that I was not the most influential kid. I am not. I'm not the most intelligent because I never topped my class in that out of 600. I was part of the top students, but I was not the very top student. I knew at that time I was in the prefect, I was in this, I was in that. I knew what I was not. So the very people, I remember some of my friends who were very powerful and influential at that time, I would rather help them. Whatever they need, I'll support them. Go and arrange chairs for them, get the places ready. They need people to gather people, I'll gather them and they will come and talk to them. At a certain stage, you should know that you are not the main spotlight, somebody else is. When I entered senior high school, I quickly discovered what I am and what I'm not. So I remember a friend of mine who was meant to be the senior prefect. Right from our very first year, I knew he had to be the senior prefect. I knew he had to be the president of this group. I knew he had to be there. And I told him, you know something, whatever you need, whatever support you need, I will be there for you. I'll meet him at 2 a.m. We'll pray together. I will inspire him. I'll prepare him. I said, you have to be the senior prefect. You have to be this. I will encourage him. I'll build him. I'll campaign for him. I'll do everything. I knew I was going to be the support. When I was in senior high school, I was almost assistant this, vice president that, assistant that. I knew my entire stay I was going to be second to someone. I was going to play second fiddle to someone. And the reason why I was going to play second fiddle was that if you don't know how to follow, you cannot lead. And that's the problem with so many of us. We want to quickly jump the queue and lead. But I took my senior high school days to first learn to follow before I would lead. To first learn to help people before I would be helped. To first learn to be a supporter before I'll be the main lead. And that is a challenge most of us are having. We do not know when we have to even help other people. Many young people today will tell you they are struggling with finding a job, they're struggling with doing this. I'll be honest with you. If finding a job were easy, then everybody would be employed. If setting up a business were easy, then everybody would be an entrepreneur. If being a politician, a parliamentarian, being a man of God, an influential word, if it were easy, then everybody would be. It takes a lot of effort. So the first most important thing I keep telling people, and this is one of the biggest secrets I've had in my life, okay, is that you need to have this at the very back of your mind. And I need you to have this for the rest of your life. Everything that you desire to have, everything that you yearn to have, learn this golden rule. If you do not learn to lift other people, you will never be lifted. Any man who wants to be rich needs to learn to enrich other people. If you do not learn this secret in life, you will struggle your entire life trying to build something by your might, by your strength, and you will fail. You will fail because you do not learn how to leverage. So, the first most important thing you need to know is that you need to know who you are not. So, we've talked about know who you are, but who you are not is very important. Once you know who you are not, then what actually happens here is that there are certain things that if they do pass you by, you will not be bothered. So I'll give you an example. When I was in my senior high school, and then a friend of mine, he was actually the president, and I was a vice president. And then his family got there's an American lottery, and they had to move from Ghana to the United States. So when they were moving, and then he left very early, so I could have quickly jumped on and become the president. I did one thing, and most of my people to date were shocked I did that. When he left, I left the presidency position vacant throughout my entire stay in Prempeh College. I left it vacant. I left it vacant because I knew who I was not. I was not the president. I was the vice president. I was meant to be the vice president. I was meant to play a second fiddle. I knew who I was and I knew who I was not. We kept the presidency position vacant for him. We did his certificate for him, even though he did not assume that role. And even I doubled as both a shadow president and a vice president. If you can do that, there's a lot of paths that will open for you. I have one friend that said something very powerful to me. He said, most of the times, this is the thing that people miss. If God has done this thing for you and you are moving to the United States, let's assume, okay, that we are both, let's assume that we are siblings of the same God. And if God has done it for you, I have twins, okay, I have two boys, they are twins. Whenever I go home and I give one of them an item, the other one, so Brian and Ryan, so Brian sees that Brian has a car. He's so sure that daddy would also have a car for him. So this is the thing that I have. If God blessed, I will not envy him. I'll not be jealous of him. On the contrary, I am actually going to be happy for him because it will soon be my turn. So the fact of the matter is that what you need to know, and you need to know this very early, act on it very early, is that there are certain things that are not meant for you. Don't fight for it. There's something we call premature exposure, and that's the second lesson. They've been one of my biggest secrets, and the reason why I take time with so many things. Have you realized that when a child is born, it took that child 7 to 9 months, often 7 to 9 months before the child is delivered? If the mother should deliver the child the first month, is a problem. The child will not survive. Second month, child will not survive. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth, child will not survive. There are some of us, we have not understood this, and I've shared this in some of my posts online. Two people I need you to know. I know most of you, whether Christian, Muslim, you've heard of these two people. So there is Adam and Eve, you've heard of them. And then there is David, and there's Jesus. So let me pick the first Adam, and let me pick the second Adam. So the first Adam, Bible says, Genesis 1:26, okay? What actually happens is that you see that God said, let us create man in our image after our likeness. So God created Adam as a normal person. He was born a man. So what is shocking is that Adam was created a man. Adam was not created a child. He didn't grow as an adolescent. He was born or created as a full-fledged man. Instantly, Adam had to start taking decisions. Now, what happened to Adam? He failed. And he failed. It was an entire fiasco. The second thing that happened was that when the devil tempted Adam and Eve, they failed. You and I should never blame Adam and Eve. These guys never had any training. They were born or created as man. And the next time they are tested against one of the most cunning creatures of the earth, the serpent, the devil. Of course, they will fail. They don't have any maturity to face the devil. However, today is 26th, so we're talking about Christmas. We're talking about the birth of our Lord Jesus Christ. So we are talking about Jesus being born. Now, what actually happens is this. Jesus was born as a child. Why would God do that? God made sure that Jesus was born as a child. He was born as a child because Adam failed as an adult. He was created as an adult with no experience, with no exposure, nothing at all, and he failed. So when our God was coming onto the earth as a man, he came as a child. So Jesus was born as a child. He grew up like any one of us. It took him 30 solid years before Jesus faced the devil. So look at what happened. When Jesus was actually facing the devil, what was so shocking was this. God took him away when Herod tried killing, took the parents away. That's why he was born in a manger. He was taken away. He was protected. When he was 12 years, he was still protected, even when he was exposed. So we didn't hear anything about Jesus 13, 14, 15, 20 years, 25, 28. We didn't hear any word about him till he was 30. Now, when Jesus was 30, what happened? He then began to fast for how many days? For 40 solid days he fasted. And it was at the end of the fast he faced the devil. And this is what happened. We all know what happened. When the devil came tempting Jesus, he passed the exams. There are so many of you listening on this call. You are asking why certain privileges have not been given to you. Certain opportunities have passed you by. Certain offices you have not gotten there. I am telling you, some of you on this call, there are certain promotions, if they give it to you, the witchcraft and the wizardry and the superstition of certain places, you may die before your time. The backbiting, okay, and the way some people are evil, there are certain places, if you enter now, you will die like an Adam. You will lose it. So there are some of you, God deliberately is preparing you. So one key thing you need to understand is that premature exposure will kill you. Premature exposure will put you at the wrong side of the coin. There are certain projects I've worked on them for the past almost 20 years, and I'm not even bringing it to the surface of the earth. I'm not showing it to anyone. I'm working on them. There are certain projects I'll do them in 2030, some in 2050, because I do not have the capacity to do them now. Learn to wait for the maturity and learn to wait for your season. It's the most important thing that I need all of us to learn. Okay, and this is that we wait for things to happen than to make things happen. There is God, there is this African deity, this whatever. So we always feel that there is a miracle that will happen, there is this thing that will happen. But when I discovered my identity in Christ, I discovered my identity in God. I just discovered to realize that the first most important thing is that when God created man, he gave man dominion. He gave man the power and said, tend over this. What is very extraordinary is that God has given us the power to create wealth. He's given us the power to prosper. He is not going to bring prosperity to us. He is not going to just drop it onto your head. You would have to make it happen. So there's one thing I need all of us to understand, and it's very key at this point. For every single one of you here, you need to understand that God is the Father of intentionality. God is the Father of intentionality. So what is so shocking is that God never waits for things to happen. He has everything planned. That's why he says that I know the plans I have for you. So God has a plan for you. He has it all planned out for you. If you are walking with a God who is the Father of intentionality, okay, and yet you yourself do not have any intentional steps and plans for your life, how do you keep up with him? How do you keep up with him? So this is what I need you to understand on this very Boxing Day. Every single one of you listening to me. I do not share anything I've shared on my page, anything I've shared with you. I have lived them, I am living them. I don't share things I've never lived. I actually don't share things I don't believe in. Anything I tell you, anything I share on my page, I believe in it, I live it, and that is what I'm made up of. I have come to the understanding that anything any man on the surface of the earth puts his mind to and can imagine, he or she can do. The only difference is that most of us are not ready for the time and the efforts that it would take, the sacrifice it would take to get there. So let's assume something. Today, anybody listening to me on this call who wants to be a medical doctor, if you are 40 years, 50 years, 20 years, and you want to be a medical doctor. I'm in Ghana. I've lived outside Ghana, lived in other countries. And in most countries I've lived in, if you want to do medicine, you spend not less than 6 to 8 years to become a qualified medical doctor. You not spend less than that. Now, if you want to become a medical doctor today and you are 50 years, 60 years listening to me on this call, can somebody tell me with what I just said, 6 to 8 years is all it takes to become a medical doctor? That is all it takes. So what does that mean? At 40 years, at 50 years, if I have to sit to write a high school exams again, enter medical school again, and go through the system for 6 to 8 years and become a medical doctor, if that is what I want to do, then I'll become. So the real problem is actually not that we cannot become medical doctors. I'm using medical doctors as an example. But we think where we find ourselves and the stage we find ourselves, we are not ready to go back and start all over again. Please, God is the Father of intentionality. Listen carefully. Abraham and Sarah had to give birth in their old age. It wasn't a mistake. There are some of you listening to me on this call. After this live session, there is a dream, a passion, a desire in your heart you think is too late. For those who just joined in, I have said it at the beginning. It is never too late for you to start. So first and most important thing is that we are going to determine exactly where we want to go. So my point number one, everything I've said is foundational building. We are going to identify the man, the woman that we want to be 30 years from today, 20 years from today, 10 years from today, 5 years from today. I don't want 2 years, 1 year. No, no, no. Talking about, let's go long term first, okay? 30 years, 40 years from today. What man do you want to be? What woman do you want to be? Now tell me, in 30 years from today, young man, young woman, old man, old woman, what is it on the surface of this earth that in 30 years you cannot achieve if you commit your mind to? Tell me, is there anything? Type in the comment. Is there anything you cannot do in 30 to 40 years if you put your mind to it? If you think you can, I want you to type in there, I believe I can become anything I want to do in 30 years. Just type it there. What is it that you want to achieve? So if you want to become the topmost journalist, you can become. You want to be the topmost financier, you can become. You want to be the richest man in Africa, you can become. The first thing is that we need to identify what we want to be in the next 30 years, 40 years, what we want to be. The next thing is, a lot of people tell you, I want to actually know, how do I get there? No, the how does not come first. Please, it doesn't come first. How you get there doesn't come first at all. It is the why. So many of us have not achieved the things that we want to achieve because we have not fully determined the why we do what we do, or the why we want to get to where we want to get to. I tell you, the reason why you have failed in becoming, and I have failed in becoming some of the things I planned, was that I didn't define my why so well. So the little thing, it breaks you. When I went to study out of the country, I went to Morocco, went to France, done some parts of Europe, some parts of Africa, and I said, okay, I want to come to Africa. I want to stay home. I want to be in Ghana, stationed in Ghana, travel around the world, do what I want to do. I told myself, I want to do this because I want to tell people you can make it in Ghana. That's the reason. You can make it in Africa. And then you get the economy and things getting tough, and then you ask yourself, wow, if I were to be in Paris, in France, if I were to be in London, if I were to be in US, Ontario, I could make it bigger there. Why am I wasting my time here? If your why is so strong, I tell you, it doesn't matter where you are. So we all know the richest black man on the surface of the earth, and people is shocking. Dangote is richer than all black Americans. He's the richest black man. He's the richest African. He is a Nigerian. He's from Nigeria, the giant of Africa. He's from Nigeria. He lives in Nigeria, made his wealth in Nigeria. I don't want us to talk about how he made it and all other stories. The thing is, he made it in Africa. You and I can make it right here. If you are living in Europe, you are living in the States, you are living in any part of Africa, you are living in Asia, wherever you find yourself, you can make it there. You have to first determine 30 years from today, what man or woman are you going to be? 30 years from today. 30 years from today. Not 1 year, not 2 years. I'm saying 30 years. If I should show you when I was 17 years, I had a 70-year plan. At 17 years, I had planned my life, the kind of person I want to be. So I have a full plan. I know the man I want to be at 2050, 2030, 2020. I had it and I put it before God. So the second most important thing is, why do you want to become that man or that woman? When you are done, you need to ask yourself, how do I become that person? And you cannot do this by yourself. You have to do this first by reading, second by finding icons, mentors, people who have achieved what you are aiming to achieve. Is very important. And then by looking for what it will take to get there, and put your heart, put your mind to it. So the fourth thing is get to work. If you do not dig and you do not sow, you are not reaping. Get to work. Anybody who has come very close to me, I'm a workaholic. When I was in my senior high school, very young guy, everywhere working, night, day, working. When I was at the university, the same thing, working. I had to study in French. So for those who know me, I'm bilingual. I speak French and English perfectly bilingual. I had to study accounting, economics, mathematics, everything in French, learn it in French, and I had to study. And I became a very, very good student in another language, learning accounting, economics, computer science, everything in another person's language. I get to work. So we believe in the grace, we believe in the anointing, we believe in the favor of God, we believe in all of these, but we need to get to work. Are we good? The third thing I want you to have, and I want you to have this in the back of your mind, and this part is the biggest of them all. You need to know that you can't achieve what you intend to achieve by yourself. So many people think that solo movement is good. And some of you have been bitten by some friends, okay? You've been in some relationship, bad relationship. You've been in certain friendship. They've disappointed you. You had high expectations of some big man, and they disappointed you. So you don't want to actually learn to collaborate with people, work with people, build bridges. But let me tell you one thing. There is this Indian story I love so much. So one day, there was a snake that was caught up in a thorn, and the snake was struggling to get out of the thorn. So there was this man who was trying to get the snake out of the thorn. And each time he tried, the snake would try to bite it. And then one man passing by says, "Hey, why are you worrying yourself? This very snake you're helping, the snake wants to bite you. And you know the venom of the snake. If it bites you, you will die. So why are you forcing yourself to even help this snake? The snake seemed not to need your help." But then this Indian said a very, very powerful thing. He said, "It is in the nature of the snake to bite." So let's pick a snake. Snake is just like a lion. It does not have legs, nothing, just the tongue. So the snake will just bite. Will just bite you. That's all the snake will do. So if the snake wants to hug you, it will bite you. If the snake wants to kiss you, it will bite you. Whatever it is, so he said, it is in the nature of the snake to bite. But for me, it is in my nature to care for others. I don't care what somebody did to you. I don't care what anybody has done to you. Please don't let anybody change your nature. Don't become embittered because of someone else. If you do that, they have won. They have actually won the battle already. Please don't allow anybody to change who you are. So I'm saying this because some of you would say, "Oh, for me, I've had a very tough time. I tried working with some people." Please, it is in the nature of human being to disappoint you. It is in the nature of people to stab you at the back, to badmouth you, to do all that. It is human nature. Envy, jealousy, it is in human nature. You cannot stop being a good person because of some few bad nuts. You cannot stop that. I cannot stop doing the good things I do for people because of one or two bad comments here, one or two people. No. You don't do that, because there are certain people, these things that we do are changing their lives, and we will not stop that. So you need to understand, every one of us, you need to find your tribe. You need to find the people who best fit your future. Please remember, the destination you want to go, there are some people in your past, they will not fit in. They will actually talk you down. They will actually give you very, very bad advice, give you every reason why it's not possible. But please and please, do not let anyone talk you down. Let all of you know that this journey towards your destiny of choice is not something you can do by yourself. When God created Adam, He said it's not good for man to be alone. Like I mentioned, you see me often alone, but be honest to yourself. I have a very good family, a supportive wife, with kids. I have family. I have my friends, my partners, and stuff. If I don't have such a team, I can't do what I do. You people make us do what we do, and we all need to understand that we should all have such a formidable team around us, and we need to learn to build it. The last time I said this to someone, he was like, often, sometimes you want to be friends with some people, but they seem not to want to be friends with you, and you keep approaching them. It's like you're pestering them. This is what I always tell people. In this life, nobody moves with somebody without any interest. Whenever you approach people and you even need help from them, first offer help. And this is what people don't know. So there's some example. You approach someone like maybe a classmate who is now the CEO of someone, and you need even a job, whatever, for some reason. You go to him and say, "Oh, you've not heard from me in a long time," and you send him a message, "I need a job, I need you to fix me." It's not bad. It's not bad. But you can take your time to check him online, social media, whatever. Start liking one or two things he or she does. Start giving some compliments here and there. You shouldn't fake it. Let it be genuine. Check and just say, "Hey, hi. It's been a long time. I want to have your number and get in touch with you. I hope everything is fine. I hope the family is doing well." And then the person says yes. And then you get in touch and all that. And then once in a while, he posts something, you give a compliment, you look at what the person is doing. Maybe the person has won an award, done this. You give a good compliment. Build that rapport before you bring in an ask. Nobody likes people asking them the very, very first time. So what you ought to do is to first take your time to build relationship with people before you bring in an ask. Second thing, I always tell people that when it comes to human beings, there's something we call person of interest. I work with three principles. These are my main principles I work with. Let me share just one with you today. There are so many people, they they don't understand how come some friends who were so close to them, I used to be very close to this friend, but all of a sudden we are no longer closer like we used to be. It's as if there's some gap between us, this and that. No, we grow and we grow apart, or we grow closer based on the things we do together. I, for example, I have things I'm interested in and things I do. If I don't have much I do with you, no matter how you know me and how I know you, we will grow apart. Because I'll spend more time with those who are doing the same things with me, and those who do the things I'm interested in, the things I do, are the ones that will be closer. So if there is someone you want to be closer to, then you need to find what the person is interested in. And you need to find that interest and build around that person's interest. So, for example, there's a lady you're interested in, there's a man you're interested in. Find what that man is interested in, find what that woman is interested in. There's a friend you think is a person of value, solid friend, amazing. What does a person do that you think you would want to be interested in? You need to get that interest. So many of my friends, we all completed senior high school, we all did maybe first degree, did even first masters or second masters together, did our doctorate together or something, and it's like, oh, we don't talk much now. The problem is we don't have much to talk about apart from, "Hey, how are you? How was your day? Merry Christmas." That's all. There's nothing we are doing together. So if you want to move with people, learn that the people that are keen to you, you are interested in, learn to have common things together. And that is what will keep you going. So a person of interest is someone on your side, is someone who is interested in what you do, and someone that you're also interested in what he or she is doing. And the things you do together is what will keep you together. So at least some of you now understand why some of your old friends, there's not much you are doing together, because they are pursuing different things from what you are pursuing. And until you begin to have some holiday hangouts, which you do like an annual ritual, you have some intentional things you do together, maybe couples hangouts or something you do, you will never you see the gap developing. And it even happens with couples. If you are married to someone and then both of you are having different interests, no matter how you love yourselves, because your wife is pursuing something totally different from you, the husband is pursuing something totally different, you have nothing you are pursuing together, both of you grow apart. So if you are in a relationship, try to be interested in what your lady is doing, try to be interested in what your guy is doing. And as a matter of fact, try to participate and build it with them. And that will help you to bond and get closer. So remember, you can't do this alone. You need to find people who are like minded people, people that want to do what you're trying to do, and people that want to achieve it together with you. I'm going to quickly pick questions. So can you kindly share with us which is the right way to invest? Invest in financial instruments or in physical assets? Okay, so this is the first advice I give. For every investment, you need to learn how to diversify your investment. So you cannot invest in one area and leave the rest. You need to have what called diverse portfolio, diverse assets. Okay, it's very important you have that. So, one thing you need to have at the back of your mind is that when it comes to financial instruments, and I know by this you are trying to talk about bonds and bills, okay, and then you are even looking at if we have to go into derivatives and shares, all those stocks, going to the stock exchange and stuff. And even some of you wondering what you have to do with your pension and your funds management and so on and so forth. I, as a person, I have what I tell people a strategic plan. You need to have a personal financial strategic plan. We can look at this on one of these sessions. If I get a lot of requests on this, I can treat this fully live here for all of you. In this strategic financial plan, we're going to look at our long-term plans, our medium-term plans, and then we'll look at our short-term plans. So in this financial instruments that you be investing, you look at the long term. So in the long term, we look at buying stocks. So going to the stock exchange, okay, and then buying stocks. And when you buy stocks, we look at it from the long term. So you don't buy stocks and then sell it off immediately, because there will definitely be a downturn, there will be an upturn. So what you do is that you do not panic sell when there is a downturn, otherwise you lose. You do not also panic sell when there is an upturn, because it can peak beyond where you think you find yourself. So what you do with your long-term investment is that these are investments where we call, so there's something called bankroll and time horizon. So your bankroll is the money that you're willing to invest in, okay, that in case you lose, you'll not be really affected. Okay, it's called bankroll. Okay, so for example, what you do is that you have about 10,000 USD, and then you want to invest it for long term. This 10,000 USD, if it's a long term, then it should be money that you don't need it within the next 5 years. So money that you think you want to drop it somewhere and wait for it to grow over time. So normally, these are some of the investments you do for long term. So you can decide to buy stocks, okay, from the stock exchange. You can decide to put it into bonds for long term, okay. There is this debt exchange program happening in Ghana, where there's financial haircuts happening here and there. For the short term, it can be very, very dicey. But I would always tell you that whenever you're looking at long term side of investment, it may not always, you never lose at the end of it, because with time these long-term investments will pan out to be very good. So what our advice is for financial instruments, bonds, treasury bills, all that, what you have to do is look at it from long, medium, and short term. So long term, when you go for that, then in putting it in physical assets. So I've always said this, anybody who's ever uh, sat in any of my financial seminars or trainings or webinars or stuff, I'm a big fan of land and property, real estate. I'm a huge fan of it, because it's one of the ways of keeping intrinsic value of money over time. And when I say the intrinsic value, in simple terms, the true value. Okay, it helps to keep the true value against inflation, depreciation over time. So if you are on this call and you can have access to buying of lands, please do buy lands. Land is one of the best ways to actually invest. If you can build, and then for the start, do rental and leasing so that you'll be able to make money from it. You can do that. That too is a very, very good form of investment. So that is a long term one. The medium term, if you want to do safe investments, then medium and short term, you go for the most reliable, low risk ones. So when you want to go for reliable and low risk, it differs from country to country. So those are the ones that you can go for. Any of these according to your country, but let me put them in the bigger brackets. So the first bracket is that you go for the bank instruments. So anything coming from the central bank, anything coming from the stock exchange, anything coming from the investment banking area, you can go for them in the medium short term. But every country will have its own restrictions. So in Ghana, for example, now treasury bill, fixed deposits, bonds, and stuff for individuals are not suffering from the financial haircut. So you're good if it's an individual one you're doing. Your coupon will not be affected unless you do a discount of it. That's when you'll be affected. So you can still go for it, and then you should be safe as an individual. If you are going for, as you know, that corporate, collective groups are being affected when they want to actually, because of the haircuts, that one you can also look at other alternatives. But you know that for when it comes to wealth creation, anyone who has ever listened to me, try to have other multiple sources of income. Those of you who can go into entrepreneurship, I would always advise you. Those who can look into intrapreneurship, where you aim at climbing the corporate ladder, you can also look at that one. So it differs based on the money you have as a bankroll, because sometimes your money is small. You want to quickly turn it around and then go. It's case by case, but I'll tell you, go for the safest. Real estate, if you have any chance to go into real estate, please go into it. Any If you have money and you can go, it's forever, and you can never get it wrong with real estate. As in terms of investment, if you get it right. What are the principles of a life well lived? So for me, the key principles of a life well lived is everything that we need to understand is that we are here for a very short time. So every one of us should be conscious of life and death every single moment. So for you to live life well, you need to ask yourself this very question. If I die today, will I be happy with what I've done today? So most of the times we live some days ordinary and make some other days extraordinary. My entire life, I treat every day as extraordinary because every day is unique, every day is special. So the best and the first principle about living a well lived life is actually first being conscious of life and death and purpose. So you need to be conscious of that. The second thing about life well lived is the fact that you live for a higher purpose and a higher reason. So in the first one, but building upon it in terms of purpose. A life well lived is a life which was lived with purpose and with meaning. So you cannot live your life anyhow, live just for yourself. You need to live with reason and with purpose. And every day, that will be your guiding principle. The third thing about a life well lived is that a life well lived is a life that lives beyond you. God forbid, but if you died today, would you have any legacy? Would you have something you would have left behind? And your legacy will not be your house, your car, your money at the bank or anything. The legacy will be the lives that you touched, the lives you improved. And you don't have to change the whole world. You just need to change the world of the few people around you. Those people are influenced. Mark, I want you to talk a bit about the difference between a manager and an entrepreneur. Okay. I'm asking in relation to what you said about know who you are and who you are not. Fantastic, fantastic. The first thing is that for managers and then for entrepreneurs, we need to understand it from two angles. Just two angles for the start, so that'll be easier. Uh, Everything about a manager is that a manager finds himself in an existing business. So we need to understand that a manager is in an existing business. The business already exists, It is well defined. Often it's very, very formal. Things are formalized. The employees, there is power here, and then person's trying to maintain status quo. The manager is often risk averse, where we look at it from the angle where if there is high risk, medium risk, and low risk, the manager will always go for the lowest of risk and all that. That's basically what the manager is. Now, the entrepreneur on the other side could now even be starting the business. Okay, it's a business startup. Often, it didn't even exist. He's now starting from the beginning. Often, entrepreneurs go for funds wherever they can get. So they would either do bootstrapping, dilutive financing, non-dilutive financing, and so on and so forth. At the beginning, it looks a bit informal. Some of them will start from their garage. Things are not formalized. The things they are doing, they will be working from another home, a whole lot of stuff here and there. But the manager has a bit of, job security here and there. Things are quite safe and that. So the major difference between the manager and the entrepreneur is that the entrepreneur is taking a lot of risk. The entrepreneur is building something sometimes from scratch. The manager is in an existing business. The manager is going according to the status quo. The entrepreneur is trying to challenge the status quo. The manager is limited or constrained by resources. Okay, the resources available have issues here and there. So if they give the manager 100,000 to spend in a year, that's what he has to spend with. The entrepreneur can go and borrow more if he has to. So there is the manager who is actually limited, who is actually the business has been built, systems put in place, he's managing. And there is a new manager too, which we call the intrapreneur. That's at the higher level of a manager. So now there's entrepreneurs who are the ones who start the business, the visionaries, the ones making it happen. And there is the higher level of managers we have now who are called intrapreneurs, or what I call corporate entrepreneurs. So people can rise in the corporate ladder and get to the top of the ladder. Okay, they get to the top of the ladder and be able to take entrepreneurial decisions at the top. Those people are what we call intrapreneurs. So the intrapreneur, some of you don't have to stop your 8 to 5 job. Okay, you can rise up and become the top CEO, the governor of your central bank, whatever. And you may not own the business, but you'll be able to take entrepreneurial decisions for that business and even can become a director of that business. So we need to understand that from this angle. Myself, I've had things I've been addicted to before. I have a very funny story. So now I used to play PlayStation. Okay, I think that was in my second year in university. My first year, I did so well, topping class, getting A's, blah blah. Then I started playing PlayStation football. I'm a football fan, Manchester United fan, and I started playing that time. Cristiano Ronaldo was my key player with Rooney, and I got addicted to playing with people, playing tournaments and stuff. It really, I literally couldn't stop playing to the extent that I had my first and only resets in that particular semester. It really affected because I got so addicted playing the game, and this is the best way I came out of it. The first thing about addiction is that it grows stronger when you do not see it as an addiction. So, first, you need to identify that there is a problem. And some of you might have addiction with pornography, addiction to sex addiction, to alcohol addiction, to smoking, whatever. I don't know what you're addicted to. You need to first acknowledge that there is a problem. So that's the first thing about addiction. The second thing is that anything you hide grows stronger in the dark. If you have a problem and you keep the problem to yourself, it grows stronger. So, whatever addiction you have, the first thing is to know that there is a problem, accept there's a problem. The second thing is to take it from the dark, okay, and to share with a responsible person, please. You need to talk to someone, but be very careful who you share your problem with. Some people can even be bad. You share your problem with them, the next thing, they are telling people how your weakness or they are sharing it in public. You need to not share your problem with a loose mouth. Share your problem with someone who's going to make your situation worse. So identify someone you can a confident, and a responsible person who can help you. You need to have an accountability partner, someone who can hold you responsible to be able to go through the phase of coming out of it. And the last thing, of course, I have always said this thing, is that prayer has been my secret weapon. Whatever you do, talk to God about it, pray about it, and then take the steps from there. So that's advice I give on addiction. Follow up, should every entrepreneur necessarily manage their businesses themselves? No, not at all. This is a very, very good question. I don't get it, but I keep telling people, and it's one of the main reasons why businesses fail. I think one day we should have a session on this. But let me give an example. I'm a finance guy. Okay, I'm not an engineer. I I I. I've built houses, but I don't know how to construct houses. I don't know how to design houses and stuff. That's the work of the architect. Okay, quantity survey is that's the quantity surveyor's job. That's the engineer's job to look at the columns, the pillars, and to look at the structural integrity and stuff. That is not my job. It does not matter if I want to go into real estate and I don't bring in the architect for that job, I don't bring the engineer for that job, that quantity surveyor for that job, I would end up destroying my business. So not all entrepreneurs should manage the businesses themselves, but you cannot be an entrepreneur without a commitment to your business. So let's differentiate between committing to your business and managing your business. Committing to your business means that once you've put your treasure or your money into that business, you should have your heart there. You should have your eyes there. You should have your skin in the game. So you need to commit to it, oversee things, monitor things. But that does not mean you are going to micromanage people and then everything has to go through you until you sign, until you approve. You don't delegate. No, your business can never expand. So not all entrepreneurs should manage. Actually, entrepreneurs should not even manage their own businesses. You can start and build it, but once you build, you need to develop talents to take over for you. So I think most of the businesses I run now, I've started with people. Most of them, no, nobody even knows I'm even the man behind it because people are running it, and nobody even knows I'm part of it. So you manage it from behind. Okay, you do it that way, and it's solid that way. Okay, God bless you for this. Is there any mentorship program for people studying entrepreneurship that need support from you? Thank you. Yes, so we are starting the African Institute for Business and Leadership Excellence and incubator in Kumasi coming January 15th. It will be based in Kumasi. We have another office in Accra. We have an incubator, a sister partner incubator there in Accra, and we have one here in Kumasi. And then those who are outside Ghana, we have an online program we are developing that can help anybody who wants to go into entrepreneurship, basic one. So you can follow the page, follow the websites and stuff. We share them from January 15th. We'll give you all the feedback on that. Educate us on foreign education, especially PhD programs. So I have said this thing: the world has never seen opportunities in education like we are seeing now. Gone are the days where a privileged few people could go to Oxford and Harvard and Ivy League schools and top universities in the world. But I'm telling you, there are scholarships flying all over the place. You can go to a school without paying a dime if you would take painstakingly go through. So let me see. There are certain websites I think you can look at them. Opportunities in Africa, scholarshippositions.org. You can check some of these amazing websites. They have very, very good things. You can look at them. So first and foremost, when it comes to education outside, you need to understand that some of the schools require you to write a GRE for the non-business and math students, and some require you to do the GMAT for those who did business and maths. And then for those who are trying to do PhD in particular, the most important thing is about your thesis is that you would have to send your proposal, okay, your research proposal. And research proposal is something very simple. So a bit of your topic, you give a bit of your background, the areas that you'll be studying, your research objectives, your research questions, just some few things here and there. We can't do this on this call, but your research proposal is the main thing. What you have to do is that for PhD, you have to look for the professors in the universities Follow them, check their works, look for their areas of interest, align your topic to their area of interest. If you remember today, I spoke about persons of interest. And once you align to the areas of interest, most of them have fundings, and most PhDs, especially in the United States, are fully funded and even paid sometimes, most of the PhDs in the United States. So if you get it, their funding can cover you. In Canada too, most of them are fully funded for PhDs and stuff. So you can. Now China is also doing very well when it comes to PhD programs. So Europe, a lot of programs are available. I can't exhaust it, but I can tell you that there are more opportunities out there now, and you just need to give yourself a year or two, painstakingly search for these opportunities. And some of us, you can inbox us, and if there's anything we can help you with, we'll help you with links and stuff, whatever. Okay, Abdul Wahab Waris, thank you. Akosia can come. Okay, thank you, Doc, for and the part I enjoy most was a prayer. God bless you. It's my first time watching you live. Okay, thank you. Stefania Asari. Well, I nearly give up schooling, but listening to you, I believe I can become whatever I. Yeah, so please don't give up about school. But please, whatever you do, personal development is very important. Never stop learning. Thank you, Doc, for sharing these great lessons with us. I'm a better person today. God bless you richly. Thank you very much. Thank you, Doc. I think you should be thanking my wife and my kids for allowing me to do this on on Boxing Day. Emmanuel Kasiwa, I salute you. I salute you too, Ima. So, sole proprietorship is a legal form of business where you own the business. So normally it's like you running your business alone and now legalizing it into a legal entity. So you're running a business alone, and then that business becomes a legal entity, but you are the sole owner, you're the only owner, you as a person running a legal entity. So that's sole proprietorship. But partnership is when you come uh, at least one person. So you have a second person that you are running the business with. So that one is partnership. And when you move into joint venture, it could be two legal entities coming together. That can also be a joint venture. Okay, Abigail mentioned, yeah. Okay, Abigail, thank you, Doug. You're most welcome. You need to talk to someone, but be careful who you share problems with. Yes, exactly. Uh, Absolutely. Once you put your money or your treasure to a business, you should have your heart. Okay, thank you so much, Mark. Thank you very much, my brother. Doc, is it good to just concentrate on yourself rather, always laying your head for others? That's a very good question. So I have this thing I tell people. I'm someone who have so many people who depend on me financially. Okay, I have so many dependents, people who I'm helping, taking care of, doing this, and so on and so forth. If you are not careful in trying to help people, you cannot help yourself. So there are two things I tell people, especially people from poor homes where people look up to you, have so many dependents. This is what you do. Two options. The first option is for you to sacrifice yourself and then pick the next 5 to 7 years to help your other siblings, relatives, so that they cannot have a certain lifestyle like yours. So sometimes you maybe have to sacrifice marrying early and stuff to help bring your siblings to a certain level. And once you brought them to that level, you will then move to the stage where when they are all fully settled, they'll not depend on you. So that's where you don't fish for them, but teach them to fish. Then you'll be free after your 7th year. So I have a friend who sacrificed about 7 years of his life helping all his brothers and sisters. Now they are all well established by God's grace, and he is now moved. You can go that tangent, or you can go the second tangent where you decide that this is the amount of money I can help the dependent. So, for example, I can help maybe $500, $200, what I can help with these dependents at this stage of my life. Religiously help those people with that money. Beyond that, you can help them. Use the rest of the money you have to build yourself, to establish yourself. And when you have about 5, 7 years and you are well established, you can now come back to them. So it differs in context and that, but never stop helping people. So in all the two scenarios, I'm talking about going full gear to help them and sacrificing yourself to build them up, or helping them to a certain limits and then using the rest to build yourself. Because remember, you cannot give what you do not have. So some people will try to help everybody, and at the end, they would not make it themselves. So you need to check. It depends on your context, but seek advice. Seek advice from counselors and mentors who can give you a specific one after they've asked you some few questions. So that would be great. I'm not in Ghana now. Okay, so good. So Nancy, excellent. Once you're not in Ghana, we have the online version, the website. You can log on and then you'll be able to pursue all those programs. Please, how do we contact you? So you can contact me on. So I prefer email. I don't give my phone numbers out, unfortunately. So you can contact me through my email to the duahevans@gmail.com. That's my email. You can also go to my website. You can book appointment on my website too. You can actually send me a message on my website and I'll reply you from there. So you can go to my website, book an appointment, send a message there, or send it to my email. So any of these two should be good. Or the Facebook page, you can drop a message there and I will attend to you. Hey, my economist, Nuti Fafa, thanks, Doc. Learned a lot today. When is the next session? So we want to make this regular. I'm looking at doing it once a month. I'm a very busy person, so I'll look at it with the team. We can do it once a month. We'll look at it. So the next session would be January. I'm too busy to be doing this every week, so either twice a month or once a month. I believe it's a blessing for some of us who know you. Thanks for the knowledge. Okay, thank you so much for saying. Okay, Hindolo, Mr. President, Doc, can you please have sessions like this every week? Every week will be tough. I can try every month. Twice a month, I'll check with my team if we can make it happen. But once a month, I can assure you. But every week, no. My schedule not permitting. Thank you so much, Doc. I'm really inspired. Catherine, thank you so much. Hey, Dr. Julia, please, those of you, Dr. Julia and Build with Mark are very, very good counselors. Dr. Julia is a counselor. When it comes to relationship, you can follow her up. She's really, really good with marriage and relationship talks. You can seek good advice from her. Build with Mark is one of the best marketers I know. You can also follow him. So can you share with some scholarship links? Yes. You can start with scholarship positions, okay? Scholarshippositions.org. Scholarshippositions.org. I think all the scholarships in the world, most of them will post them there. So check scholarshippositions.org. You get most of the scholarships in the world. It's been a very good evening with all of you. Thank you so much. And it's been an honor having all of you on the call. Thank you so much. God bless you so much. And then the team will communicate to you very soon if we can do this once a month or twice a month. God bless you. Very good evening. You can leave your last comments. Thank you very much. Good evening.